Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're kicking things off here on Monday night with a pretty fun 7-game slate here. In this one, taking a look at the Bucks hosting the Hornets. Big 10-point spread here, but we'll take a look at some of the best bets available in this one. Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com as well, with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page and check out those other couple videos we have for you today, including the player props video. We love to bring you each and every weekday. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's jump into it.
Yeah, the Bucks are 10.5-point favorites right now at home, despite having lost 4 of their last 5. Charlotte, not exactly a world beater either in that span, and they just lost in overtime last night to Detroit, so serious rest disadvantage. The total all the way up at 240 for this game, so tough call there on taking the over or under. We'll look at the other 6 games on this slate real quick. The Wolves are -3 at the Cavs, who are without Karis LeVert and Darius Garland. That total at 219. Pacers in a pick'em at Orlando. The Bulls are +4 at Miami, total of 225, and we will break that one down for you in a separate episode. The Raptors -4 at the Nets. Still none of the stars available for Brooklyn at home. Kyrie might be available in a couple weeks for home games. The Spurs +8.5 at Memphis, and then the Kings are -4 at OKC. Seems like a high total there for OKC at 228. But we are looking at Bucks Hornets, and there is no total too high to be set for these teams. They are definitely capable of smacking a 258 onto the board. Really, the key stat point for me here is just how the Hornets play on 0 days rest, because not only are they on a back-to-back, they went to overtime last night. And how they play usually, it's a very young team led by a young backcourt in Ball and Rozier, especially with Gordon Hayward out. How they play is they score a lot more on the second leg of a back-to-back, and they don't win at all. They're 1-10 this season on back-to-backs, but their offensive rating, a nice 117. They are scoring 119 points per game in those situations. 5 of their last 6 back-to-backs have gone over, and the exception is Miami, which can really slow you down and really limit the points, as we know. But Milwaukee, not really doing that in any sense. They've just been rampantly inconsistent in terms of their defense, doing better protecting the paint, but still missing Brook Lopez, Serge Ibaka, not necessarily integrated. And Milwaukee, for the last 3 years now, will just let you shoot threes and hope that they let the right guys shoot threes. And Charlotte, even after a couple of nice offensive games, crushing the Raptors and losing in a shootout with the Pistons, have shown some good offensive prowess coming out of the break here, despite the fact that LaMelo Ball is struggling in his last 3, averaging 15 points per game, shooting 29% from the field and 25% from deep, but not shy about hoisting. So if you look for some positive regression here in terms of LaMelo hitting some of those threes, you think Charlotte will be able to keep pace at least a little bit, and you pretty much know they're not going to stop the Bucks down low. Charlotte, we had been attacking their unders for a while, and they've been hitting. That's because 80% of their games have been at home since mid-December, really. It's really been an astonishing schedule for them. And now they're on the road in Milwaukee. And that's where the last time they played in Milwaukee, I believe it was a 127-125 game, and LaMelo had 36 points. They're tending to go over in this spot again on the back-to-back, 8-3 to the over this season by an average of 16 points per game over the total. So it's not like a 240 is out unheard of. It's kind of it gives me more pause to bet that total just because of the inconsistency from the Bucks on both ends. But I would definitely lean that way. And I feel like a little bit of a safer bet is to take the Hornets over at 114.5. With the Bucks projected to score 126. I think Charlotte will keep it within 10 points, and that means they will get around that 120, which, again, they've done in 5 of their last 6 on back-to-backs here. So that's what I'd be betting. Along with those 10-point spreads, if you're going to give me 10 against an inconsistent team right now, I'll take it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's some conflicting information starting just with the spread there. I mean, you look at what Milwaukee's done at home lately. It's been awful. You mentioned that they've lost 4 of their last 5, 3 in a row. 4 of those 5 have been at home as well. And then you mentioned Charlotte not playing on the road as much lately so we don't have as much to look at with them. But, on the road in their last 10, they are 6-4 straight up with, scoring about 119 points a game, decent pace. We know Milwaukee at home actually plays with the fastest pace on the season, even though as of late they've dropped that a little bit. Still been the top 5 in pace is Milwaukee playing at home. So the spread itself at 10 points, especially looking at the recent history between these two teams, the last 2 matchups were in Charlotte. Charlotte covered, everything went under, but the only game this season in Milwaukee went 127 to 125, which is what you're expecting from Milwaukee at home this season, who is 9-19 against the spread at home this season, which as the home favorite rather, which is wild. As they were just a complete easy cover last season. All those double digit spreads with them against teams that aren't as good as them have definitely come back to bite them in terms of being able to cover that spread. You look at their last 11 games at home, Milwaukee 3-8 against the spread, 9-2 to the over. All that's because of their 22nd defensive rating, still playing, like I said, in that top 5 in pace, not giving up a lot more rebounds, bottom 10 in terms of rebound percentage in that time frame as well. So it kind of seems like they're missing that big man. They're missing Brook Lopez for sure, as we've been saying all season. Serge Ibaka is not ready to come in, play anything close to those minutes. And Bobby Portis has been doing his thing a little bit more from the outside, as he went 8 for 13 from 3 in that loss to Brooklyn the other night. Did Bobby Portis drop into his season high of 30 points, tying it anyway. But yeah, I think, in terms of the spread here, I would prefer to take Charlotte, even though they are 3-8 against the spread when they are playing on the second leg of that back-to-back. The other thing that really doesn't bode well for them is that rest disadvantage, where they are 4-13 this season against the spread, whereas Milwaukee, with the rest advantage, 11-7 against the spread. However, I would also throw out there that when you look at Charlotte's against the spread, how they're sort of scoring against the spread when they are on that rest disadvantage, they're still actually covering the spread by an average of 1.2 points per game, despite the fact that they are failing to cover 9 of 13 times when they have that rest disadvantage. So there's just so much conflicting info for the spread there, that I do like the idea of eyeing the total, and rather than hoping that this game gets over the 240 mark, I do like the Charlotte team total bet that you're saying. I do think that they get 115 because of that lack of confidence that I have in Milwaukee to cover. It's tough for me to say that they're going to get 126 at that point, and be able to put up that many points. I mean, if you watch that game against Brooklyn last, the other night, it was really just timely and untimely turnovers, untimely bad shot selections from guys like Giannis, who were coming down when they had a lead of about 5 points as time's running out, and Giannis is coming down and pulling up top of the top of the key 3-pointers on a fast break instead of pulling out, and it was just all bad decision making throughout the game, which is really what you're seeing from them as of late. Is they're still shooting decently, they're still putting the ball in the net, but they're just making these boneheaded plays and allowing guys like Kyrie too much space at the end of the game. They were giving up wide open 3-pointers in the corner to guys like Bruce Brown and even James Johnson. So, I don't feel as good about them covering, which is why, if you wanted to take, the only problem is I don't feel good enough betting on that total to just parlay it with the Hornets covering there. So that's why, the 2 best bets I have, honestly, at this point would be for the Hornets to cover. I'm actually considering a tease here just because I do want a little bit more than 10 points. I think this game ends at between 8 and 11-ish points is where I see this one ending, even if it is close to around 6 points. You start to look at the fourth quarter numbers. Charlotte is so bad in the fourth quarter of the season, has really contributed to them being unable to score. And Giannis, to his credit, sort of continuing his approach to last season's playoffs, has been a fourth quarter scorer, has been getting to the free throw line an average of about 6 times in the fourth, still hitting about 4 of those, which is good enough for him at this point. So I think, they're able to pull this one out. But, I would consider getting 14 points and maybe the over about 236 there, because I do think this game gets, it's in the 230s. It's just a matter of let me put it this way. Vegas did a great job setting this line. And the thing I feel most comfortable about is the Hornets team total and probably them to be able to cover more so than the Bucks.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at those games that went under in Charlotte earlier this season, just 2 nights apart. The Drew Holiday missed both of them. And then the previous game, Drew Holiday plays and it's a shootout. And it's not like Drew did a lot of the scoring either. But he is very essential to their offense. And Giannis has, gone off with Drew kind of setting him up in this matchup. That is somewhere to look. I mean, the player performance doubles are insane with Giannis right now, but he's averaging a clean 50 points and rebounds in his last 6 against Charlotte. I don't think he'll have any problem getting to the rim and taking over in the fourth quarter, as you mentioned there, in this matchup against a tired team. So could consider him to get 35 plus in a win is really what you're looking at there. The double-double, you minus 180. Not great, but I mean, his individual props at 31.5 points or 43.5 points rebounds, I would definitely look at that as an angle to bet here. But I expect just some, again, more positive regression from the Hornets in terms of clapping back. Maybe the fact that Holiday's out there incentivizes LaMelo to play a little bit better. That's why he had that big game in Milwaukee. That's why we went over by so much. And Kelly Oubre also had a nice performance off the bench there. Miles Bridges. These guys do get up for this game. And the more Milwaukee scores, the more the opposition seems to come back and push the pace. And the Hornets, their pace reasonable in their last 10 road games, even more fast when they're on back-to-back situations right now. And again, mentioned 5 of those 6 went over. I'm not just going to bet the 240 straight up, but yeah, again, I think the Hornets will be able to get over their team total, however this game shakes out.
Yeah, and just turning the page to the what's going on with Milwaukee's offense. I mean, you look at why Giannis is going off. I mean, in his last 10 or so, Giannis is at about 33 points, 11.5 boards, 6.5 assists. So I mean, he's still playing Giannis crazy ball with a PER of like 30 or whatever it is. But the other guys are not. It's Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday been fine for them doing what he does. I mean, he's been averaging about 19 points a game in his last 10. With those 7 assists, so he's moving the ball. He's playing Drew Holiday basketball, still locking up on D with a really nice individual defensive rating. I'm going to go ahead and just call out Chris Middleton. I mean, he's the guy at 17 points a game. They need him closer to 20. He is putting up about 5.5 assists, so he's become a little bit more of a facilitator, actually throwing about 2 or 3 assists a game to Giannis, which is really nice for them in that lineup. But at the same time, that's where they're lacking, which is why I actually feel pretty good about Giannis. I don't hate that 35 points in a win, just because in his last 5 against Charlotte, he's averaging 34.5, 13.5 boards and 7.5 assists in those games. So I mean, right there, you look at that the points and rebounds at 42.5. He's averaging 38 right for against Charlotte in their last 5 games dating back to last season. This is one of those teams where there's zero matchup for him on the defensive side of the ball with a tall wing defender that Charlotte does not have. I mean, we're talking about Kelly Oubre here, like who's coming in to help out PJ Washington. There's not really anything there that makes you go, oh yeah, that's the Giannis stopper in any way, shape, or form. So 35 and a win for him is right about his average against them as of late. And I wouldn't be too terrified of it, but definitely love that points rebounds at 42.5 as well, considering he's averaging 6 more than that in his last 5 against this team. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page and check out those other couple videos we have to kick off the week tonight. Until we see you next, happy betting.